Finally, testing. Give a good contact there. Okay? So as long as it beeps, we're okay. We've got contact all the way down to Earth. 1, 2, 3. That's insulated. 1, 2, 3. It beeps. The lightning conductor has to carry 2 million volts at perhaps 10,000 amps for a millionth of a second. It's vital to check the electrical conductivity from the tip all the way down to the ground. And in case you doubt the danger the shack is in, take a look at this. This was the cricket pavilion that belonged to the predecessor of the National Grid Lab in the 1960s, reduced to a burned-out shell by a direct lightning strike. Can we avoid this fate for the shack? Okay, we're going to hit that shack with almost 2 million volts. See if our lightning conductor can take it. Voltage is creeping up. Just watch this yellow light here. Attention! Now, just watch this. Wow! That is amazing in this confined space. Anyway, the shack is still standing. It hasn't caught fire or blown up or anything. It looks like our lightning conductor is good. We'll give it one more try. Lightning tries to find the most direct route to the ground, so it tends to strike the tallest and best conducting thing it can find, in this case, our lightning conductor. But if you look at the bottom of the conductor, where we had a sharp bend, the charge escapes to take a direct route to Earth. Wow, well, the shack has stood several 2 million volt strikes. It hasn't exploded, hasn't caught fire. Clearly our lightning conductor is working. Okay, we've protected the shack, but how would you protect a person? The challenge for the team now is to make a special chamber that I can actually go inside while being zapped by a 1 million volt spark. Before submitting myself to what will genuinely be a life-threatening experiment, I wanted to understand a bit more about the destructive power of lightning. Right. Oh, lovely. I persuaded Dr. Peter Howson of Brighton University to show me what happens when lightning strikes a tree.
Here we go. Wow. Right, we'll let you...
So that's 1 million volts?
That is 1 million volts.
Okay. Can we zap it again?
Right, here we give it another one.
Now, it's splitting down the side of the bark. Why is that?
Well, the current is finding the most conductive path, which is between the bark and the inner core of the tree, right? So as it tracks down, it heats up the sap within its path, which forms a hot explosive wave or high pressure.
Because it's so quick,
sap. That's right, yes.
Right. And so the sap simply bursts out through the side?
It just simply bursts out through the side and...
doesn't do the tree any good at all?
Oh no.
Of all the people who get struck by lightning, about half are indoors. But it's very, very rare for anyone to die by being struck by lightning while indoors. However, if you are indoors during a thunderstorm, do not get on the phone, because that's the most dangerous thing you can do. Just watch this. When the phone's hit, it appears undamaged, though the electronic components have probably suffered. But if we see it again, this time stopping on the strike, you can see how the spark hits the body of the phone, but instantly travels along the cable to the handset, the bit you'd be holding. Phone wires are vulnerable because they're out in the open, but any electrical circuit could be affected. We invited along a very brave woman called Kim Bradburn, who has actually survived a lightning strike to her house.
So I went to switch the light on, and the second I switched the light on, the lightning struck the roof. Obviously was going to ground.
You mean as you went to switch the light on?
Yeah, it hit the conservatory roof.
Right.
And obviously I interrupted it, going to ground.
So it was going through the light circuit?
Yeah, and it blasted out of my hand.
So what actually, okay, what happened at the moment, you went up to switch on the light and...
There was just a terrific bang.
Yes.
And a flash.
So what had actually happened to your hand?
Well, actually, it blasted all the flesh from my hand here, broke a joint at the base of my thumb. My thumb was back here, and all this flesh, there was just a hole.
Gosh. Was it blackened?
No, it wasn't blackened. No, but you could smell, I know it sounds terrible, but you could smell like
cooking meat.
Yes. And apparently that was all stuck to the patio door.
But it's all right now?
Well, it's much better than it was. It's a bit red at the moment.
Right, but it works, does it? I mean,
it works very well. Yep.
Nice like grip. And all your fingers work properly?
Yes, fine.
Now, are you scared about lightning?
Yes.
What do you do about it?
Well, I've had a lightning conductor fitted to the house. We've also had a surge arrestor because I've been told that lightning can come back up as well as strike down. So I feel a bit safer about that.
If I may say so, you don't actually seem to be frightened of it now.
I'm not frightened of it. I think I respect it now. Respect the fact that what it can do.
I don't want Kim's story to frighten you. Very few people have an experience like that. But it does make you respect the power of lightning. So the team are being extra careful on this build because a life depends on it. Mine. However, I have confidence in the science of what they're doing because it was worked out by one of the great heroes of electricity, Michael Faraday. In 1836, he was doing some experiments with very sensitive equipment, and he was afraid it might get damaged by some of the high voltage static electricity that was around the lab. And so he devised a very cunning thing, the Faraday cage, to protect it. Let me show you. Here is a model of Michael Faraday holding a pair of polystyrene balls, and I can charge him up just by squeezing this thing here. And if you watch, you see these two balls he's holding in his hands. Watch what happens. You can see the balls swing apart. As they get charged, they repel one another because they've got the same charge, and they fly apart. But now, just see what happens when I put him inside the cage. I'll take him off carefully. I'll open the cage, and the cage is just made of copper wire, so it's a conductor, the whole thing. But what Faraday reckoned was that there would be no charge inside the charged conductor. So even though I'm now going to apply the same charge to the cage, nothing should happen to those polystyrene balls. Just watch. You see, I'm putting the same charge on, and they stay exactly the same distance apart. They don't kick. So he was absolutely right. There is no charge inside the charged conductor. Now, Michael Faraday's original cage was 4 meters square, bigger even than the shack. But I've asked the Science Shack team to build one for me, just big enough for me to go in, and we want to find out whether it will protect me from a 1,000,000-volt strike. An amazing Croatian chap called Nikola Tesla invented these things, fluorescent tubes. He also invented a rather unusual way of lighting them up. Meg, what are you planning to do?
I'm going to put this spoon into your mouth,
yes,
and then using this small Tesla coil, I'm going to apply about 30,000 volts to the end of it.
Into my mouth?
Yes.
Am I going to die?
Hopefully not.
Oh, I hope not too. In fact, Tesla used to light his New York laboratory with fluorescent tubes powered by one of his coils. Amazingly, they needed no wires. You just put a tube where you wanted light, and it got its power through the air. That was amazing. I was all lit up. And I'm not plugged into anything, except me. But 30,000 volts is far too wimpy to hit me with, so Meg's colleague Ken has brought along his portable 1,000,000-volt Tesla coil. So, Ken, it's all set up. How does it actually work?
Okay, well, what happens is at the base here, we start with about 10,000 volts of very, very high frequency electricity.
Okay.
It travels back and forth about 200,000 times a second.
Wow.
Now that induces 1,000,000 volts at the same frequency across that purple coil. And so we get this beautiful display of high voltage electricity from the top terminal.
Okay, let's see what it does.
Okay.
That is quite startling.
It's amazing.
Why isn't it sparking to Earth?
Well, it's just at a safe height so that it can't actually reach Earth. The sparks are travelling about 1.5 meters and it's about 2 meters tall.
Right, but where are they headed for?
Well, they're heading into the atmosphere. I mean, that's the curious thing about this. Although there's no route to ground, no obvious route to ground, the electricity just finds a way into the atmosphere to disperse.
Why isn't it going to come and zap us?
We're too far away.
Amazing. Sort of forked paths are fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah, they wind as they find roots of moisture in the air.
But why, once it's formed a path, why doesn't it go along it again? Because you've got ionised gas there.
Because the moisture's changing all the time, the air dries out, it moves around, and so it just winds to find the path of least resistance all the time.
Although he did go on to pioneer the main system we use today, the Tesla coil has never really found a practical use. Unfortunately, Ken and the Science Shack team seem to have discovered one. The plan is that I should get into this wire cage, and then, Ken, you're going to whop it with 1,000,000 volts, yes?
That's right, yeah.
And you're sure it's safe?
It's safe. I mean, this is the principle that protects people in an aircraft when it's struck by lightning, for example, so it's been tested 1,000 times for us.
Right, so this is what Faraday said, there is no current inside a charged conductor, yes?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, how are you going to make sure that the zapping goes this way?
Okay, well, we've got an electrode here which will direct the sparks over towards the cage.
Oh, thanks. Okay, well, I guess I'd better get in, hadn't I?
You better get in. And we need to make sure that the door is well shut so that it's a completely closed shell.
So I'm completely surrounded, wire underfoot, wire overhead.
Yep.
Okay, do your worst.
All right, you ready?
Yes. That is very odd. It's very disconcerting when it comes absolutely straight for your eyeballs. I want to see what that looks like if I point a camera at it. So I'll stand back here and point that straight at the... Go on then, shoot.
Okay.
That's quite something. Is it safe to touch the wire?
You can come close to it. I wouldn't touch it in case your finger begins to poke through the mesh.
I see. I think I'll just keep away if that's all right. You do have to have it earthed. Amazingly, the inside of the cage has no charge, but the metal on the outside is at 1,000,000 volts.
And we can demonstrate that by placing a couple of fluorescent lights just up against the side of the cage.
And you say that the one inside won't light up?
The one inside won't light up. The ones up against the cage should certainly light up.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep filming and I'll watch the tubes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Shoot. Fantastic. Well, I have to say that while we've made this program, I have learnt that electricity can have awesome power. But I've also learnt that you can do something to protect yourself against lightning. If you're caught in a real thunderstorm, you are more at risk standing out in the open, where the lightning might strike you if you are the highest thing around. But lying down on the ground is also dangerous. As current leaks away from a strike, a high voltage could build up between your head and your feet. It's not a good idea to stand with your legs apart because current could go up one leg and down the other. Very unpleasant. Out in the open, the best thing is to crouch down, close to the ground, on the balls of your feet and your head tucked down. Don't use an umbrella or golf clubs. Sheltering under a tree is dangerous because of side strikes. Lightning can jump from the tree to a person. Also, the tree might explode. Most experts think that the best place to shelter is inside a car with the windows wound up. It's a Faraday cage. You're usually safer inside the house than outside, but don't use the phone and stay away from electrical appliances. Okay, so I have to climb in here, yes? Yes. One last death-defying feat. How do you fancy being hoisted 50 feet into the air and then grabbing hold of a terminal at 500,000 volts? No, I don't fancy it either. And for protection, all I've got is my grey jumpsuit. I'm not sure about the style, but I do like the fabric. It feels like cotton, but it is in fact stainless steel. Not a Faraday cage, but my personal Faraday suit, as used by chaps who have to service those high-tension lines for the national grid. Now I'm 50 feet up, and there's 400,000 volts here. It's quite scary. I can't feel anything yet. Tingling. I can hear crackling. Ah! Wow! Look at that. And if I catch it, I can't feel anything.